Super Mario Odyssey is 5 years old. What the hell? So 5 years ago today, on October 27th, 2017, Super Mario Odyssey came out. And I know this might be a bit of a hyperbole because I'm just a really big Mario fan and I have a lot of nostalgia for this game's release. But Super Mario Odyssey is one of the most important games, if not the most important game ever made to me. And it's really not hard to see why. Like I said before, I'm a huge Mario fan. I've played almost all the mainline games, even though like I've played the more retro games on like the Virtual Console service on the Wii U or Switch Online or whatever. Even though Switch Online wasn't really a thing at the time of Super Mario Odyssey's release, and Super Mario Odyssey's release was like one of the biggest moments for any Mario fan. And I mean, like, I was like 12 years old at the time. I was pretty young. I mean, I was turning 13 later on in November. So, like, yeah, it was a big time for me. I just have so much nostalgia for, like, this game's announcement when it was announced in the January 2017 Nintendo Switch presentation where it was like revealed. I have a lot of nostalgia for its presence at E3 and like just like following all the like the gameplay videos and the reviews leading up to its release. Like I don't really think I've had that kind of nostalgia for a game, to be honest. I mean, now of course I actually didn't get this game at launch. I didn't have a Switch at the time. I didn't get to play it until like about a year later. So you might be wondering, how the hell do I have nostalgia for a game I didn't play until 1 year after release? I don't know. It's just like one of those moments where like you're very nostalgic for it, but you don't really have a reason why. Like why I decided not to make this into an actual video. The world may never know. But in all seriousness, the reason why I decided not to make this into an actual video was because like I've been busy with like another video that I want to get out by the end of October. So like I just didn't think it was very feasible to like work on a video for this while I was working on like another video that's like over 15 minutes. But like because Super Mario Odyssey is like one of the most important games to me. I mean, I already mentioned that. I felt like it deserved something for its 5 year anniversary. I just love so much of what this game has to offer. Like, I love the gameplay mechanics. I love the gameplay. I love the level design. I love the music. Like, this game, like, just does so much. It does so much that I love about Mario games. Like, it does something very original and new. I mean, like, kind of like games like Super Mario Galaxy and even games like Super Mario 64 for that matter. Not really like the new Super Mario Bros. Games, because those are a lot more, like, unoriginal and bland a little bit, like even though those games are good too. For some reason it's always the 3D games that are like that are always the most interesting compared to the 2D games. Like I'm not really sure what happened. I guess like the developers just kind of got a little bit lazy over time, but like I mean, Super Mario Odyssey to me is just like it does so much right. Like I love so many of the kingdoms that are in this game. Like basically this game is like involves like world traveling to save Peach from Bowser, and because he wants to marry her or whatever. I don't know. It's not a very complicated story. Like just like all the other Mario games, it's very like simple. It gets right to the point, and it's basically just an excuse to get you out of the Mushroom Kingdom and do your typical Mario stuff. There was a 3D Mario game that came out before this called Super Mario 3D World. It came out on the Wii U in 2013, 4 years before this game's release. And it was a 3D Mario game, but it shared more similarities with the 2D games. Basically being like a 2D Mario game in 3D, kind of like the new Super Mario Bros. Game. And that game was great too, but it wasn't really what people wanted. And it's also not really what the Wii U needed because, you know, the Wii U was, well, the Wii U. And it didn't do very well. So like we all felt like it could have benefited from having like an actual 3D Mario game to like really get the system going, and it just didn't really have that. Now like we don't have to worry because we have Super Mario Odyssey, like because this game like does everything people were upset about with Super Mario 3D World. Like you have open-ended level design much like Super Mario 64 and Sunshine. You have collectibles to go for, cool gameplay mechanics. like all that really cool stuff. Like, I mean, Super Mario 3D World had a lot of that cool stuff too, but I don't know. But like basically, I don't know, man. Like, I kind of like the level design in this game too. Like, when I first saw the Metro Kingdom, I didn't even think it was a Mario game. Like, I thought it was like some kind of like an other game. Like, I thought it was like a new IP, kind of like Splatoon or ARMS or whatever. Does anyone still remember ARMS? Hopefully, I'm not alone with that. And right from the get-go, this game just shows you how creative it really can be with like its central gimmick basically being hats and stuff, and how your main ally is basically a hat who can basically take control of objects when you throw your cap onto them. But honestly, this is a gameplay mechanic I have never thought I'd needed in a Mario game, but now that it's in a Mario game, I think it should be an all Mario game. But basically, there's just so much like I enjoy about this game. I also love the world design too. I already talked a little bit about the Metro Kingdom, but I didn't really like talk about like how good of a level it really is. Like, it's kind of weird because like you're interacting with real life people, and that kind of makes characters like Mario look a little bizarre. But like other than that, like the Metro Kingdom is really good. It's basically like another Bob-on Battlefield to me, and like where like you could just like freely run around and like have fun just doing absolutely nothing. And I don't know, I feel like that's like one of like the best parts of like open-ended Mario games. I didn't feel that as much with Super Mario Sunshine though, and that's probably because like the game probably like for each mission, like you had to do it in order. Like you couldn't like go out of order, and or like if you were in like a specific mission, you couldn't collect a shine for like another mission. Like you had to do it like completely straightforward. And I think maybe that's probably the reason why I didn't feel like Super Mario Sunshine was as like you had as much freedom with Super Mario Sunshine as much. But like I don't know. That's just how it is. That's just how I feel. I also like other cool levels, like the Wooded Kingdom's really cool. The Sand Kingdom, the Cap Kingdom, Fossil Falls is really cool. I didn't really like the Lake Kingdom as much. I don't really know. It wasn't really my personal favorite level. It felt like a very dull version of the Seaside Kingdom, like a great a water level that's like far better. And I also didn't really enjoy the Sand Kingdom as much. I mean, it was a fine level. I mean, it was like well designed, just like all the other levels in the game. But I don't know. I felt like it was like so open ended. It might be the biggest level in the game, to be honest. But it was so open ended that there was just like so many spots where like there wasn't really a whole lot to do. There wasn't really like a whole lot to do per se. But like I still really liked it. I liked all the other levels too. Like I also like the Luncheon Kingdom. The Seaside Kingdom, again, is really cool. It brings back memories of Super Mario Sunshine. But I also really like the Moon Kingdom. Spoilers, I'm sorry. I also like Peach's Castle, the Mushroom Kingdom, too, after you beat the main game, too. But, like, levels like the Snow Kingdom and the Lake Kingdom, and even, like, the Ruin Kingdom, I felt like they weren't my personal favorite levels, to be honest. Like, I mean, the Dark Kingdom like had a very like cool aesthetic to it, but like, I'm not really the biggest fan of the levels like that that aren't really like exploration based and are more so just like basically just have mini obstacle course challenges or just boss fights. I mean, they're cool. They're still cool levels, but like, I mean, come on. You could have given us a little bit more for those levels, especially the Snow Kingdom. But like everything else, all the other levels in the game were perfectly fine. I mean, I didn't really have a problem with any of them. And honestly, another thing I really liked about this game was just like the sheer amount of references there are to Mario's past. Not just with like the different outfits for Mario, but like all the like everything else regarding Mario. Like all the references, all the callbacks to Super Mario Brothers 1 and the original Donkey Kong. I mean, there's basically segments where you go like into the wall as an 8-bit version of yourself, and it's honestly really cool. I mean, pretty much like in all the Mario games, like, or at least all the modern Mario games, Nintendo's been like throwing in a lot of 8-bit Mario sprites, and I don't know. I felt like it got kind of stale and boring because like you can't just like because it's all just Mario 1. Like there's barely anything from Mario 3, Mario World, or even the Mario Land games for that matter. But in Super Mario Odyssey, I didn't really feel that way as much. I thought there was like a lot of like cool stuff there, and you know, it was like really awesome to like be able to go into the wall as 2D Mario. Another thing like that I'm sorry, I know I'm like jumping between topic to topic, but like basically another thing that I like about Super Mario Odyssey is the collectibles. There's like a few different collectibles here, like the regional coins and stuff, and you could actually use them in a shop to buy outfits and souvenirs for the Odyssey, like the main way of getting around. But basically, let's talk about the main collectibles, the Power Moons. They're great collectibles. Like they basically like power up the airship to the Odyssey to get from place to place and chase after Bowser. But I kind of felt like the moons had were a bit of a problem too, because while they were great collectibles and were very rewarding to collect, I felt like there was a lot of them that just felt a bit too much like filler, especially after like the game's post game. Now I know like the game's very replayable because of the moon, because of all the extra moons there are, but I felt like a lot of the moons that are there are repeated. Like one mission may have you like herding like sheep, and another herding sheep back to where it's supposed to go, and another mission may have you doing the same thing. And I don't know. I felt like the developers kind of ran out of ideas for what to do with all those extra moons. I mean, they're better than collecting all the Korok seeds in Breath of the Wild, even though I never did that. But I don't know. I felt like the moons kind of like padded out the game a little too much. Like, I mean, like collecting like enough of them, like you'll still like be in for like a really fun time. But like, if you collect all of them, you might find this game to be a bit more frustrating than fun, to be honest. I mean, that wasn't really the case as much with me, but it did get a bit tiresome collecting all those moons over and over again. I also really like the music too. This game goes for like an orchestral style, kind of like the Super Mario Galaxy games and Super Mario 3D World, and it's awesome too, just like all the other games. I'm still not sure if I prefer Super Mario Odyssey's soundtrack to games like Super Mario Galaxy or even Super Mario 3D World for that matter, but it's still really good. Now, as for the updates that came out after launch, I can't really say I'm the biggest fan of them. I mean, a lot of them didn't really add anything special. Most of them just added new costumes and filters for the snapshot mode in the game. But basically, there was a few other modes that were added after launch, like Luigi's Balloon World in February 2018. That was basically like a mini game where you take a balloon and you hide it somewhere in the game's world, and someone online has to go and try to find it in a specific amount of time. Or you could try to find other people's balloons in a specific amount of time. It was actually pretty fun and addicting, and I honestly didn't really think it was even going to work very well for a game with open-ended levels, but it actually did, and it made for a really fun game. However, there was another update that came out like in April of 2019, and I think that was to coincide with the release of the Nintendo Labo VR kit. It was basically like a VR mode, basically where like if you look around, the camera moves with Mario, and basically like it's not like the actual game itself. This is like its own separate thing where you have to find instruments and bring it back to the musicians. And I'm sorry, it kind of sucked. It felt really tacked on, and just it didn't really do anything special. It was just like a game where you had to find the instruments and bring them to the musicians, and there wasn't really any challenge to it. There wasn't really anything else to do after that. Like it was basically just find the instruments and bring them to the musicians. Like there wasn't really anything special to it, and it wasn't even available for all the levels. It was only available for like a specific few, which I think they kind of missed out on a huge opportunity. I mean, not just because like they could have done something so much more with the VR, but like you could have added more levels, or like had you like do it under a time limit or something. Like it just felt very tacked on, and it didn't really feel like much effort was put into it, to be honest. But like, thankfully, this was just like a stupid little side mode that wasn't added until much later on. I want to sum up this video before I get a little more carried away talking about stuff without like having a script. But basically, Super Mario Odyssey to me is like one of the most important games ever made. Like, if not the most important game ever made. I already mentioned this before. I don't want to like repeat myself, but like, I felt like for a game like that I have so much nostalgia for, and it's not even that old either. Like, I felt like it needed its own separate video. It needed to like get some kind of like attention from me, even though like I couldn't really make it into its own separate video. Like, I just feel like Super Mario Odyssey really was something special, and it was like a game that like I just like enjoyed like a lot more than like a lot of other games, to be honest. Like, even some of the games I grew up playing and loved, like, I think Super Mario Odyssey like surpasses even some of those, which is impressive. For some reason, I hear a lot of arguments online about how, looking back, Super Mario Odyssey is a pretty underrated game, and to some extent, I could kind of see why people think that, but I don't really feel that way. Like, Super Mario Odyssey is like a really great game. I love it to bits, and I hope it continues to like get as well respected as it is now. Like even like if we get like a Super Mario Odyssey 2 or something, like I still feel like people are gonna look back on the original Super Mario Odyssey and say, wow, this game was really good. Like, I feel that way about Super Mario Galaxy. Like, even though we got Super Mario Galaxy 2, a really great game, by the way, I still feel like I prefer Super Mario Galaxy 1 in some respect. Like, I don't really know why. Like, I just think because Super Mario Galaxy 1 was the one who did it first, so, like, maybe that's why it felt like a little more special. And I feel like I would feel the same way with Super Mario Odyssey, like, if it ever got a sequel, which hopefully it gets a sequel. I've been waiting 5 years for this. However, Super Mario Odyssey is just a fantastic game. Like, if you haven't played it already, you owe it to yourself to give it a try. It's amazing. But, yeah, just wanted to sum up my thoughts on Super Mario Odyssey since I couldn't really make a full-fledged video about it. And I'm sorry if I was, like, stuttering a lot in this video. I didn't write a script for this. But anyways, thank you so much for watching this video. Happy 5-year anniversary to Super Mario Odyssey, and I will see you in the next video that will hopefully come out in a few days.